Hey gang, I'm back. Had a lot of stuff happening, so um, yeah, sorry for not posting lately. But I thought I'd wanted to share like how I deck build or like how to deck build, but like how I deck build specifically. Um, so if you want to learn how to deck build, or if just even like want to know how deck building works in general, like this is a good place to watch. Hopefully this helps if you're struggling. So let's just get in and yeah. So first of all, I think there's things to look for when you're looking for a deck, or when you're looking when you're looking at cards for your deck. Um, you want to be looking for consistency tools. That's the biggest thing. You want your deck to be consistent. You want your deck to be doing the same thing most of the times that you play it. You do not want to have a deck that it can do a really cool thing one every 20 times you draw your opening five. You wanna have a deck that every time you look at your opening five, or almost every time you look at your opening five, you go, okay, this hand is gonna play the game. This hand is gonna do what I want it to do. And so that's why consistency tools are the biggest thing for me, at least, when it comes to how I'm building a deck. So those consistency tools include starters. So these are cards that start your entire combo. They say go. Things like Snake Eye Ash, Cups are Yummy, um, Stratos. Is Stratos a starter? I don't know Hero well enough, but Snake Eye Ash, Cups are Yummy. Um, I'm trying to think of other random starters. Aluba from Branded. Um, you get the picture. I think often these cards will say search card, and that will like set you off. Like Aluba searches Brand Fusion, and then Brand Fusion is your starter. Um, Cups Yummy searches a Yummy card, and then becomes Snatchy, and then Snatchy grabs you uh your field spell, and you just go from there. Um, what was the third one? Snake Eye Ash. Snake Eye Ash searches Poplar, which will then special itself, and then you turn those into like Flamberge or whatever you want, and then you go off from there. Like then you can look at this one card in your hand, and be like, okay, this one card or this one card is like a bunch of stuff. It's a bunch of advantage. That's what all of these consistency tools, um, if they're not the specific like one for one cards, like oh, Toon Table of Contents, for example, technically it's probably a starter. It's a consistency tool. Um, but it's not generating advantage. Something like Sky Striker Ace Mobilize Engage, once you've hit the three spells in Grave, that is both a starter and an advantage generation because the extra card that you draw means you're just going to see more cards, which is often like really important. So something like Megalith Anastasis, the effect to discard a card and search two cards, and then its second effect to draw two cards and discard a card. So you're seeing more and more cards with Anastasis, so it's generating you advantage. Things like Duo Drive, Raziel Duo Drive, that's going to generate advantage because you're getting two cards for just your one XYZ. And you're getting that one duo drive off of Ice Raziel, and Ice gets you Sword, which gets you Ice for Sword for X for Node, etc., etc., etc. Um, and things what I call enablers. So these are cards that you wouldn't necessarily max out on, but they allow you to play the game. They allow you to they're similar to combo tools in that like you play them. So something like Destiny Hero Malicious, which in and of itself doesn't do much in the hand. Like it's not it's not a consistency boost, but you play it because you wanna use it. You wanna use multiple of it. Even things something like that. So a big one that is polymerization is probably like the star of like the enabler. Polymerization, if you draw polymerization on its own, it's not doing anything. Polymerization does not do anything for you on its own, but you have to play it, and quite often you want to play multiples of it because you want to see it with something else. This you can see this with Draco Tail Femina. Lists run three Draco Tail Femina, and it's like, okay, why do they run three Femina? Because it doesn't start anything on its own, right? It doesn't. You look at Femina just as fusion summon, but you run three Femina because you want to see it all the time because it lets you fusion summon with the Draco Tail names in your hand. But it lets you do that on the opponent's turn as well, which is a big part of what Draco Tail want to do. And so you need to so it becomes like, okay, you got to find these types of cards and kind of identify where these cards exist in your deck and how many copies of them you should play. Um, and on top of that, and as well, end board pieces. These are typically like consistency tools are often often three offs because you want to max out on them. You want to see as many copies of them. You want your deck to be as consistent as possible. But end board pieces are often one offs because you don't need to do them multiple times. You need to make them once on your end board, and that's it. You don't need to see it in your hand. You don't need to have you don't need to make your end board a lot of times. It's called an end board. So things like Appaloosa before it got banned, things like Allied Code Torquerat Agnista for Malice, things like each Yummy Synchro is only a one of. Things like uh, you see what I'm saying? There's so many I could go off of. Things like Dragoon, Mirror Jade, um, all of those jazz. El Shaddai Winder, barrier statue of the Earth barrier statue, IP Masquerena. All of these things are your end board pieces, and you want to have them as one-ofs because you don't need multiples of them. You don't need to see them all the time. You just need to have the one copy that you use occasionally, like on your end board. And often these reside in the extra deck, so you wouldn't want to play multiple of them because your extra deck is very limited. But in the case they do reside in the main deck, then one-offs are what you'd want because you don't want to see them, you don't want to brick on them, um, things like that. So the main deck options of these include something like Blackluster Soldier, something like gosh. Well, Blacklisted Soldier's not a great one, but something like what stuff do we have in the main deck nowadays that are endboard pieces? Uh, bu- 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 uh, Whatever. Moving on. Um, Finally, we've got situational cards. Oh, Destiny Hero Plasma. Destiny Hero Plasma is an endboard piece in the main deck. You never want to play multiple of that. Um, So situational cards is the final point, and those are cards that maybe you play three of, and sometimes maybe you would play one of, and sometimes it's like, okay, if I hit this situation, I want to have this card in my deck for this specific time, and this can be tricky to exactly nail down because sometimes you might think, oh well, I want to have everything for every situation, so you have like 5 or 6 one-offs that you go, okay, well, if this happens, I use this. If this happens, I use this. If this happens, I use this. But it overall makes your deck less consistent to include all of these one-offs, to include all of these cards that don't do anything normally. You're never going to go through them normally. You only go through them in this one time. So you really kind of should cherry pick which situations you think you're going to be in often. So, for example, um, in Drytron, which is one of my pet decks. And the Drytron rituals count as endboard pieces as well that are one-offs. So can't believe I didn't think of those. Drytron Beta, its effect is that when you summon it, you get to take a Drytron name from your banishment and return it to the graveyard. Now, I did not used to play Drytron Beta, and a lot of the time, I still don't. However, it's just because the unbanish effect was never relevant. It was never relevant. You didn't really care too much. However, in a format that had Shifter, Dimensional Shifter, in a lot of people's main decks, and Bestials as well, suddenly the unbanish effect becomes a lot more useful. Suddenly you go, okay, actually I do want to be unbanishing things more. So that's when I put in one copy of Beta into some Drytron lists to try it out, to see how it goes, and so that I could use it if I got into those situations. And often these cards will it be for things like Dron and Lockbird, for Molchamis, for Nibiru. So that they are cards that you go, okay, well I want them for if I hit this specific situation. And you have to just pick the situations that you think you're going to encounter the most often. So Link Spider If you've been looking at deck lists for things like Malice, for things like Yummy, you might have noticed Link Spider in a fair few of them, and you think, oh, why is this deck? This deck can't summon Link Spider. It doesn't have a normal monster. It doesn't generate a token. So why would we ever put Link Spider in the extra deck? And it's in there because if you get Nibiru'd, you can often use Link Spider as a Link 1 in Yummy's case, or a Cyburst Link monster in Malice's case, to extend your plays and to play through the Nibiru. And so this is a situational card. Link Spider is the perfect example of a situational card that you play because Nibiru is popular in a format and Nibiru is like good against your deck or something. So you go, okay, I'll play the Link Spider. So that way I get Nibiru, I can now continue playing. And that's a situation that I'm going to get into a lot. So I will play it as a one-off. Whereas something like, I don't know, a way to beat over a 5,000 attack monster. Like, I don't think Yummy really has a way to beat over a 5,000 attack, like, unaffected monster. Like, say my opponent has a 5k attack Dragoon or something. I don't think Yummy has a realistic out to that. But it's never going to happen. You're never going to encounter a 5k Dragoon when you're going to an event. So you don't put in a situational card for it. There probably is a card that you could play that would out it. There's a line that would out it. So in Yummy specifically, that I experimented with was Silvera of the White Forest. That is a situational card because its effect to flip every monster your opponent controls face down can come in useful. It is nice to out these things like Dragoon, like untargetable monsters. However, it just never came up. I never found myself using it. And so I ended up cutting it from my list because whilst it was good, if it came up, it never did. I never got into those situations. So that's a situational card that I didn't use and I ended up taking out. So these are the type of things you got to look for when you're in the card pool of the deck that you're building. Um, and how, when I'm taking those cards and I put them in my deck, I like to do what's known as reductive deck building. It's known as it because I call it that. I haven't heard anyone else call it that, but I haven't heard anyone else call deck building any type of things. So this is the way I deck build a lot of the time. I throw 3 of every card in the archetype into a deck list, and I go, great. Here's everything I have to work with. What do I not need? So in Yummy, for example, that would include 3 Cupsy, 3 Lollipo, 3 Cookie, 3 Marshmallow, 3 of each field spell, 3 of the trap card, 3 Surprise, and 3 Yum Yum Yummies. And I go, okay, well all of these cards are good enough. All of these cards are fine. Which ones do I not need? Now, a lot of the time there's an initial removal period where you can instantly take a bunch of stuff out. So the Yummy trap card, for example, you're never going to need more than one, ever. And this is the case with a lot of archetypal trap cards. If it's not a trap deck specifically, you can just take out the trap cards or play 1 copy. So like Draco Tail, you're never going to see Draco Tail play 3 Sting, 3 Flame, 3 Horn, because they don't need to. They can just play 1/1/1 and be fine with it. And that's the sort of stuff you can just kind of take out initially, because you go, okay, trap cards in general are slower. They're not going to be doing anything on their own. I don't want to see them in my opening hand. So I'm going to cut them down to 1 because I still want to see them. I still want to play them in my deck. I still want them as an option, but I never want to see them in my opening hand. So something like Yummy Surprise, which again doesn't do anything on its own, and Yum Yum Yummy, which doesn't do anything on its own, and the field spells, they're the kind of things that you can go, okay, well those are the things I'm going to start cutting down before I even start testing. Because you can see that they don't do anything. They need all the other cards to be playing for you to play with them. So you cut them down. You maybe just cut them all to 1, but you still play 1 of each thing. Then after that, you go, okay, I'm going to start doing some testing. You do some test hands. You do some test games against your friends, whatever. Against a bot, whatever. You just test with the deck, and then you can go, okay, so I've done like 5 test games. What cards came up a lot and what cards didn't come up a lot. So again, looking at Yummy, Yum Yum Yummies, and the trap card, realistically, they're never going to come up because your spell trap, you only get 1 spell trap search often, and that is off of Cupsy. And you're nearly always going to search Surprise off of Cupsy. And so there's never a point where you want to search for Yum Yum Yummies or the trap card. And so you just don't. So you go, okay, this is the sort of stuff I can cut down. So I can now cut these. I can just cut them completely from my list. Um, and surprise stays at 1 because I can search it off of or 2. You know, I can search off of Cupsy and it's fine. Um, and then you go, okay, after some more testing, now that you've tested this stuff, you go, okay, well, what I want to play X amount of non-engine. Um, you say I want to play 12 non-engine cards, but my deck list is 30 cards. That means I need to cut down two cards from my list. But I've done all my testing and I like the ratios of everything. How do I do that? How do I cut it down? And this is where you have to kind of experiment with things. You have to kind of play around. So in Yummy, for example, players are experimenting with the ratios of Cookie and Lollipo because Cookie and Lollipo are both good cards. However, they don't do anything like unique like Cupsy. Or sorry, not unique. They don't do anything like they're not consistency tools like Cupsy is. And so it's like, well, they're option cards. They are situational cards, but they do start your combo. They are full combo on their own, so they're consistency in that way. But they essentially are the same card for consistency, but they're different for the situations. So you go, okay, well, which situation do I want to be in? Do I think I'm going to be in more often? Am I going to be wanting to use Cookie's effect more, or am I going to want to be using Lollipo's effect more? Um, so the players are often, I've seen players play 1 Cookie, 1 Lollipo. I've seen 2 Cookie, 2 Lollipo. And the list we're going to look at in a minute is 3 Cookie, 2 Lollipo. So this is where you experiment, and this is where you can kind of just slightly cut off bits of cards. You can shave off bits for more non-engine, so that you can kind of hit those numbers. So with deck building, it's important to recognize what type of deck you are playing when it comes to how to build it. I've been using Yummy as an example for a lot of these, and Yummy is a 1-card combo deck. So you can take any Yummy name, and it is your full combo. It gets you everything. It gets you the end board, and it does everything off of 1 name. Whereas Draco Tail is a 2-card combo deck because you always need a second card to play in Draco Tail. It does not have a 1-card combo. Even something like Lucaeus, if you go normal summon Lucaeus search, the none of the Draco Tail searches can actually like do a combo on their own just off of Lucaeus. I mean, here's where I'm gonna get someone in the comments be like, actually, the if you use Spirit with Eyes of Blue and then you do Blue Eyes combo and then you can use the Phimina that you searched, like I don't care. I don't care. In traditional Draco Tail, whilst that's funny, in traditional Draco Tail, it's a 2-card combo deck. And this is important for what non-engine you can play. So Yummy's non-engine can often be a lot of 1-for-1 hand traps. These and 1-for-1 hand traps or non-engine are cards like Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion, Infinite Impermanence, Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. These are cards that trade 1 card for 1 card with the opponent, and you can run a lot of these because you have the 1-card combo, which means that you do all your combo off of 1 card. So if you have enough 1-for-1 hand traps, you can just throw them at your opponent and then normal summon your 1 card and go and do your whole thing. This is what people complain about Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot. They go, oh, everyone will put 4 hand traps and then they throw 4 hand traps at you and then they normal summon Snake Ash and then they go and then they do their full combo and I can't win and I hate it. And yes, yes, that is very annoying to happen to you. But the downside is, a lot of the time these 1-card combo decks, their 1 card will get stopped by your own 1-for-1 hand trap or something similar. So, although moving to more modern decks, that now you kind of have to trade 2 into them all the time. But for example, say it's Lollipo as your Yummy starter. You have 4 hand traps and Lollipo. You go second. You go hand trap, hand trap, hand trap, hand trap. And then you have Lollipo and 1 other card because you've drawn for turn. Let's say that draw for turn is another hand trap. So you go, okay, well, normal summon my Lollipo. I Lollipo into Snatchy. Snatchy to place the field spell. Snatchy gets effect veilered. Now you can't play. And this is the weakness of the one card combo decks. Um, but their strength is that they can play a lot of these 1-for-1 hand traps and will have a very good time going second if they open up these hands of, oh, here's a 1 or 2 card engine cards and then 3 hand traps, which is crazy. Um, whereas your 2 card combo decks, um, they often want to run hand traps or non-engine that is a bit more impactful, but they also need to consider what works well with their deck to maximize how their deck functions. So in Draco Tail, for example, uh, they will often play mostly monsters for their non-engine. You rarely see Draco Tail playing Infinite Permanence or Dominus Purge or Dominus Impulse. I don't think they can play the Dominuses, but Imperm. You won't see them playing Imperm because it's a trap card, and the Draco Tail want to just have monsters in their hand to fusion summon with. So if you normal summon Lucaeus, search Phimina, and then your hand is all spells and traps, you can't play because you can't make Athalion. But if you normal summon Lucaeus, search Phimina, and your hand is like 3 Ash Blossom and a Fualos, you can still play. You can still use Phimina and fusion summon. So this you need to consider with Draco Tail what non-engine is good with your deck, and this is more common with your 2 card combo decks and control decks, where you need to see specific cards in your hands to play the game. Um, and a lot of the time, those cards, the hand traps that they play, are slightly more impactful. Things like Droll and Lockbird, things like Nibiru, things like Artifact Lancia, things like in Drytron, for example, I played Lava Golem, I played Sphere Mode, Droll. I never played like before Mochamis, I never played Ash Blossom in Drytron, for example, because it was a 1-for-1 card, but I wanted cards that would end my opponent's turn whilst I still had a lot of cards in my hand, so that I could have more cards to play with. Um, so let's go over a couple of deck lists. So this is the top 8 pure yummy in YCS Merida, by Francisco Osorio Bobadilla. Sorry if I butchered your name, but as you can see, this deck list shows what I've been talking about. If you look, you've got 3 Cupsy Yummy, 3 Marshmallow Yummy, 3 Cookie Yummy, 2 Lollipop Yummy, 3 Engage, and those are all starters. So you've got all 1-card starters, and then you've got a bunch of 1-for-1 interaction. So you've got Ash Blossom, you've got Ghost Spell, you've got Infinite Impermanence, you've got Dominus Purge, you've got Called by the Grave. And you have a couple of other good interactions. So you've got 2 Nib, 2 Nibiru, Droplets, and 3 Fualos. Fualos is obviously one of the best cards in the game, so you're playing it. Nibiru is really good as well, and Droplet is just a great card for dodging Draco Tail Trap, Flame. And in the extra deck, you'll see that they're playing 3 Snatchy, because that is like as a card that it's an enabler. Snatchy is one of those enabler cards, one of the combo tools. But then 1 of every other card, because they're either cards like they are their own enablers, but you don't need to use them more than once, or they're situational cards. So you've got Link Spider there, you've got Almirage there, you got the Light Beast Link 1, or they are endboard pieces like Herald of Arclight, the Cupsy Synchros, or SP Little Knight. And so this is how like this type of deck building is going to work with your 1-card combo decks. Is Obedient School would also be a 3 of if it wasn't limited now. Is that you have your 1-card starters, you just max out on your 1-card starters. Oh wow, Lollipo's at 2 here because they needed non-engine space. You can see they're only playing 2 Bell and 2 Nibiru. They clearly have compromised on their non-engine because they need to play. They want to play like a bunch of engine, but you get the picture. So that's how like 1-card combo decks are gonna work, and how like deck building in general working for them. And this is Draco Tail, where a 2-card combo deck. So if you look at this, you'll see that all the non-engine is monsters. It's all monsters. The only spells and traps in this list are Draco Tail cards. And you see the 1 Sting, 1 Flame, 1 Horn, because those are the endboard pieces that you don't need more than 1 of. You don't need to play 3 of them. one Urgula because it's an enabler. You play it because you want to use it and you want to recycle Firmina with it, but you don't need more copies of it because um and Pan falls into the same boat, but like often you play four a combined Urgula Pan, and people mix up on those numbers from time to time. I mean, as people play 1-1, I personally play 2-2 in my pure list. Um, but if you look at the non-engine, they're all very impactful non-engine. So you've got 3 Foolos, 3 Perulia, 3 Droll, 3 Nibiru, 3 Azuna, uh, and then you've got 3 Ash, but the Ash is often there to beat more Charmies, which Dracotail doesn't care too much about. But because Dracotail can loop hand traps, they can play Ash Blossom to loop it with Arthalion. And looking at the extra deck, you can see the one Gulamel, the one Philia Regis, or the one Gulamel as an endboard piece, and then as situational cards, you've got one Philia Regis, one Mysterion, one Secretarion, one Crush Sheep, one Spirit, one SP. These are all situational cards. They're all like, okay, well, I'm going to get into this situation, so I'm going to play this. You know, you want to use them. I mean, Philia could be an endboard piece as well. And then 3 Arthalion because it's an enabler, and that's the main card you're making with your Dracotail cards. So this like shows how you need to consider what non-engine you're playing and consider how you're deck building. Um, uh, this video feels like I've just been rambling and I might not have even got to the point often. But anyway, let's continue. So control decks, if you're building a control deck, so things like Sky Striker, Labyrinth, Odeon, they can have slightly different rules when it comes to deck building. A lot of the times, control decks don't have one card starters. So Sky Striker, I talked about Engage, but Engage isn't a one card starter. It kind of is now with Zero, but Labyrinth, it does, like Ariane searches Big Welcome, but Big Welcome's not going to do anything like that turn. You're just going to set it. You're like, okay, like ladies set stuff, like, lovely, like reset. Like they don't have a lot of like starters, but they've got a bunch of good cards. And that's kind of how you want to build control decks. You want a mass of good cards, like high impact cards. You want your engine. You want to see you want to look at your 5 and you want to be like, okay, all these cards are doing something. All these cards are playing the game. If you look at this list, you can see it, where you've got the maxed out consistency tools on the Primite Lordly load. You've got the maxed out extravagances. You've got the maxed out Temple of the Kings. You've got one man with a mark, because Temple of the Kings is basically the same thing, and they clearly wanted to cut it for non-engine. You've got one Luster Dragon, because that is an engine requirement, which that's like an enabler, so you play it to enable the Primite cards. But then you've got 3, like all the non-engine in this list is trap cards, because that's what Odeon works really well with. So you've got 3 Imperm, 3 Dominus Impulse, 3 Dominus Purge, 3 Songs of Dominators, which whilst they are 1-for-1 hand traps, Songs will search your Dominus cards. So that means that you can you're essentially 2-for-1ing your opponent, because you're getting another hand trap off of it. That's probably why they're on 1 man as well, because they want to use they're locking themselves out of both attributes with Impulse and Purge. Imperm combos with the Dominus cards because it puts a trap in the graveyard before you use them, and Warning is a really good high impact non-engine piece, because it's just so good like as a card. Like, there's a reason why Dominus Impulse is really good, and it's because it's Warning is the hand trap. So that's kind of how like you're building control decks. Like you can see the only like monster hand trap they're playing is Ash, just because Ash is really good. But that's how you're going to build the more control decks, is that you're going to kind of play them as a mass of good cards. You don't really have a big specific combo that you want to perform, so you just want to see in your opening 5 enough playable cards that like they're all going to do something. You don't want to see like 3, you don't want to see like, oh, here's my 5-card hand. It's got a monster negate, a monster negate, a monster negate, a monster negate, and a monster negate. I don't know how many plays. Like, you just want to see playable cards. You want to see cards that do things. Yeah. And that's kind of just how I deck build. This video has been very rambling. I don't even know if I've even made the points that I really want to make. I don't even know if I've explained deck building that well. hopefully this is comprehensible to some of you. Hopefully this has helped some of you. Um, if you follow me on Twitter or ask in the comments, just ask general questions. Uh, I'm happy to to answer things. So just let me know. Click the subscribe button. I release videos sometimes. Normally whenever something crosses my head and I go, ooh, that'd be nice to make a video of. Follow me on Twitter where I'm very active. I post what I'm playing every week at locals. So if you want deck ideas, feel please follow me on Twitter because you will get some. Last week I played Dracotail Vanquish Soul. The week before I played Dracotail K9. The week before I played like Mitsurugi or something. I don't remember. Um, and I talk about random ass decks as well. Like just subscribe, follow me, blah blah blah, all the socials, etc. You get the picture. Hopefully this has helped you even a tiny bit. Uh, it's been a view into my head about how deck building goes. Um, I'll catch you around. Whenever, gang, whenever.